Sailors along the Greek coast whisper a story, one carried on the wind and salt spray for centuries. It's a tale of a woman who belongs to the sea yet refuses to let it rest. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a legend born from love, grief, and a lie that changed the very nature of the waves. Long ago, before the maps we know today were drawn, a powerful queen ruled alongside her brother, the king. Their bond was the kingdom's bedrock. She loved him more than her crown, more than the land itself, but peace is a fragile thing. When enemies from across the sea threatened their shores, the king, a brave warrior, gathered his fleet and sailed into the heart of the storm of battle. He promised a swift return, a victory to be sung for ages. He sailed into the horizon and never returned. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The kingdom teetered on the edge of chaos. Without a king, their enemies would circle like sharks. The queen, her heart shattered, faced an impossible choice: admit defeat and watch her home crumble, or hold it together with a desperate falsehood. To protect her people, she chose the lie. She stood before her court, her voice steady despite the tremor in her soul, and declared that the king was alive, delayed but victorious. The lie saved the kingdom, but it consumed her. The weight of it was heavier than any anchor, drowning her in a sea of silent sorrow. One moonless night, the grief became too much to bear. She walked away from the castle, her royal robes dragging in the sand, and strode into the dark, churning waves of the Aegean. The water closed over her head, and she disappeared beneath the surface. The ocean should have claimed her, a final cold embrace. But it didn't. Something in her unbreakable love, in her unending grief, defied nature. She changed. She became something else. Not long after, fishermen began to share strange tales. They spoke of a woman pale as sea foam who would rise from the depths beside their boats. Her eyes, they said, glowed with the eerie light of the moon on water. Salt water dripped from her fingertips and her hair flowed like seaweed in the current. She would place a single, cold hand on the hull of their ship, stilling the waves around them. In a voice that was both a whisper and the roar of a distant tide, she would ask one simple question: "Is the king still alive?" The first sailors to encounter her were terrified. Faced with this spectral figure, they stammered the truth. No, they'd say, the king is gone. He perished in the war. The moment the words left their lips, the sea would explode in fury. The calm would shatter. Winds howled like vengeful spirits, and waves, moments before gentle, would rise into monstrous towers of water. The ships, sturdy vessels of oak and iron, were splintered like twigs, their crews dragged down into the abyss. No one who told her the truth ever returned to port. Word spread like wildfire through the coastal towns and fishing villages. A new rule was etched into the maritime lore, a matter of life and death. Sailors learned the only safe reply. When the ghostly queen appeared and asked her sorrowful question, you had to lie. You had to look into her moonlit eyes and say with conviction, "Yes, he lives and reigns." Upon hearing these words, a profound change would come over her. The violent tension in the water would ease. The sea would settle into a glassy calm. The sorrow in her face would soften, replaced by a fleeting, ghostly smile. Content for a time, she would fade back beneath the surface, sinking into the dark water to continue her vigil, her heart temporarily soothed by the lie that first broke it. She is a paradox, a queen trapped forever between her love for her brother and the grief of his loss. She is the calm and the storm. On peaceful nights, she is just a sad story. But when the gales blow and the waves crash against the cliffs, she rises again, desperate for reassurance. The violence of the storm is the violence in her own soul, a tempest of sorrow that can only be quieted by a single repeated falsehood. To this day, modern fishermen and sailors in the Aegean Sea swear the legend is true. They say on quiet, misty nights, you can sometimes hear a woman's voice drifting across the water, a faint, questioning murmur carried on the breeze. They say she can sense your thoughts, your hesitation. If you sail those waters and the sea suddenly goes unnervingly still, if the wind dies and a strange silence falls, be ready. Imagine it. You're out on the open water, miles from shore, the night sky thick with stars. Suddenly, the gentle rocking of your boat stops. The water becomes a perfect black mirror. And then a shape emerges beside you. A woman with hair like tangled kelp and eyes filled with 1,000 years of sorrow. She looks at you, not with malice, but with an unbearable need. and she asks the question. Remember, she isn't asking out of curiosity. She's asking because her entire existence is balanced on the answer. Her love is so powerful it holds back the rage of the ocean, but her grief is what fuels it. To her, the lie is the only truth she can bear. Your answer doesn't just save your life. It keeps her world and her sanity from shattering all over again. So what would you do? Faced with her desperate, glowing eyes, would you have the courage to tell her the lie she needs to hear? Or would you hesitate? Because in the chilling silence of the Aegean, the ocean takes your silence as an answer. And the sea, like the queen, never forgets. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, let us know by hitting that like button. And for more legends from the deep, make sure you subscribe. We're curious if she rose beside your boat. What would you say? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.